My name is Amanda, and I am a 34-year-old administrative staff. Ever since I graduated from college, I've dedicated my life to my career. Initially, I joined a major company where I committed a decade to hard work and continuous self-improvement, earning several promotions along the way. This dedication paid off, and I am now a division head at a relatively young age. I am fortunate to have a boss who constantly provides invaluable advice and leads a team of highly motivated and talented individuals. My professional life has been incredibly rewarding and fulfilling. However, my personal life didn't follow the same successful trajectory. Since a brief relationship during my student days, I hadn't dated due to my intense focus on work. Concerned about this imbalance, a close friend arranged a dinner party to help me socialize. That evening I met Peter. He was a kind-hearted person with a warm smile and a very approachable demeanor. Being the same age, we discovered many shared interests and enjoyed engaging in conversations. We quickly became friends, exchanged contact details, and started spending more time together, just the two of us. After a while, Peter expressed his feelings for me, and we began dating. Our relationship blossomed, and eventually he proposed. I was overjoyed to marry someone I love so deeply. Following our wedding, I visited his parents' home to formally introduce myself. They were incredibly welcoming and warm, mirroring the kindness I had come to know in Peter. "Amanda, it's wonderful to meet you. I can't believe such a wonderful person has become Peter's bride," his mother exclaimed tearfully. "We are so proud of him for bringing such a fantastic woman into our family," his father added, while Peter playfully cautioned them, saying, "Hey, Mom and Dad, stop it, you're embarrassing Amanda." But they just laughed it off, saying it was all in good spirits. Peter's parents were as friendly and easygoing as he was. During our visit, they seemed impressed by my career accomplishments. "Amanda works for a major company, doesn't she?" "Oh, wow, that's great. It's cool to see a woman who can work so hard. Will you continue working after marriage?" they inquired, showing genuine interest in my life choices. Their open and accepting nature made me feel right at home, confirming I had indeed found my new family. When we decided to get married, I knew I wanted to continue working. My job at a reputable company was something I took pride in, and thankfully my future mother-in-law supported my decision. Unlike the experiences shared by some of my friends where they were encouraged to quit their jobs to support their husbands full-time, my situation was different. My heart swelled with gratitude and excitement, thinking about the progressive family I was joining. After the wedding, my husband moved into my apartment, and we began our new life together as newlyweds. Our days were filled with joy and love, both of us appreciating the time we spent together, me cherishing the moments at home with him, and him welcoming me back from work with a smile. 7 months into our marriage, my husband approached me with a concern. He proposed that we move in with his aging parents who needed more support. Though surprised, I understood his predicament, especially since he was an only child and naturally felt a deep responsibility towards his parents. Unlike my situation where my brother and his wife lived with my parents, my husband had no such support for his own. He suggested renovating his parents' house to accommodate 2 families under one roof. This meant we could have our private space while being close enough to care for his parents. It struck me as a thoughtful and practical solution. The idea of living in a beautifully renovated, spacious house yet maintaining our privacy was indeed appealing. The prospect of living with my in-laws seemed less daunting, knowing that we wouldn't be on top of each other all the time. I agreed to the plan, and my husband was overjoyed. His parents, when informed, were thrilled by the arrangement. As we discussed the details of the renovation and prepared for this new chapter, I felt a mixture of excitement and relief. It was a significant step, but knowing we were making the right decisions for our family's well-being made everything feel right. The support and kindness from my in-laws reassured me that we were on the path to creating a harmonious extended family life. When my in-laws visited us, their warmth and gratitude were palpable, enhancing the already cheerful atmosphere. Their kindness made me feel comfortable with the idea of merging our households into one. During this visit, my husband and I approached the topic of renovating his parents' house. The estimated cost was around $120,000. However, as we delved into the financial details, my husband hesitated before making an unexpected request. He asked if I could cover the entire cost of the remodeling. Surprised, I pressed for an explanation. He then revealed something even more shocking. His family was in debt, $170,000 in debt. This was the first I had heard of it. Neither during our dating period nor after our marriage had this been mentioned. The revelation took me aback, especially the magnitude of the debt, which was far beyond what I had imagined. He explained that the debt hadn't been overwhelming at first, but had grown over time. Despite his efforts, he couldn't manage to reduce it significantly. His parents, now on a pension, were also unable to contribute much towards repaying it. The financial burden was escalating, understandably. I was both surprised and upset by this sudden disclosure. I found myself in a difficult position, having had no prior knowledge of the financial strain that was part of my new family's life. My husband, looking earnestly at me, made another plea. He asked for my help to pay off his parents' debt, admitting that his salary wasn't sufficient to tackle this alone. He emphasized that renovating the house and living as two families was still crucial, and he hoped to continue with those plans despite the financial strain. He acknowledged the enormity of what he was asking. Effectively, I was being asked to shoulder $250,000 for both the debt and the remodeling. He expressed his commitment to our life together and his desire to support his parents out of love, not obligation. Apologizing for the burden, he promised to repay me gradually over time. This situation left me distressed. I realized that my husband and his parents had no one else to turn to but me. Though it was a challenging moment, it was also a testament to his trust and love for me. I needed time to think about how we could manage our finances together and still support his parents without jeopardizing our future financial stability. The weight of the decision loomed large, as it was not only about money, but also about maintaining the bonds of family and marriage. Feeling somewhat overwhelmed by the situation, I ultimately agreed to take on the financial burden after a sincere discussion with my husband. He had earnestly expressed his gratitude, shaking my hand with a deep sense of relief upon hearing the decision. My in-laws later visited our home to offer their apologies and gratitude. My mother-in-law, moved by the gesture, even shed tears of joy. I resolved to do my best from now on. Despite having some savings, the idea of paying the entire debt at once was daunting. Thus, I decided to pay $350,000 for my savings initially and handle the remainder through installments. When I discussed these plans with my in-laws, they agreed, suggesting I directly transfer the payments to the debt repayment account to avoid any mismanagement. This method seemed more efficient and secure given the large sums involved and would prevent the funds from potentially being mishandled during the transfer process. My husband supported this straightforward approach, which would also save time and reduce the risk of errors in handling money. Once we finalized these plans, I could see the relief wash over my in-laws' faces. Now we don't have to fear the monthly debt collectors that have been haunting us. My father-in-law expressed, deeply appreciative. "You should thank Amanda properly," he urged my mother-in-law. "I can't even count how many times I've thanked you." "I can't thank you enough," she replied, expressing profound gratitude. While I was glad to see them relieved and happy, part of me felt uneasy. Their comments made me slightly uncomfortable, as if I were just a financial resource rather than a loved family member. Despite these mixed feelings, my primary motivation remained clear. I wanted to support my husband's family, whom I dearly loved. With these intentions, we proceeded with the house remodeling and completed our two-family home. It turned out to be beautiful and spacious, providing us all with a sense of accomplishment and a new beginning living together. Our daily interactions brought us closer, and seeing my in-laws' content in the environment we had created filled me with a sense of fulfillment. Despite the initial reservations as we settled into our new living arrangement, the joy and gratitude for my in-laws continued to remind me of the positive impact of my decision, reinforcing the bonds within our extended family. My husband's face brightened as he walked through our newly remodeled home. I too was thrilled, especially enjoying the upgraded modern kitchen that made cooking a breeze. The renovations had not only enhanced our living space, but also brought us closer to work, significantly reducing my commute. This newfound extra time was a blessing. I planned to use it to further my studies. Despite these positive changes, a nagging concern shadowed my days. I was diligently working to pay off the large debt we had inherited from my in-laws, yet my husband hadn't contributed financially. He had initially promised to help, but despite this, he hadn't made any payments from his earnings. When I confronted him about his financial contributions, he simply stated that his salary wasn't sufficient to assist in the debt repayment. Curious and a bit skeptical, I asked him to show me his pay stubs to understand our financial standing better, but he refused. I persevered, working tirelessly for a year to reduce the debt. During a family discussion, my in-laws inquired about the progress on the debt repayment. I informed them that we had managed to pay back about $50,000 this year, leaving us with an approximate balance of $110,000. They were astonished by the amount I had managed to clear on my own. "Amanda, that's incredible. At this rate, you could have the entire loan paid off in about 4 years," they exclaimed. Their gratitude and emotional response made the hard work feel worthwhile. However, just a few days later, an unexpected event occurred. I was scheduled to work late, so I informed my husband I'd be home after my usual time. But work wrapped up earlier than expected, and I headed home early, looking forward to a peaceful evening and perhaps surprising my husband with a homemade dinner. But as I opened the door, a familiar sight caught my eye. My in-laws' shoes were by the entrance. Surprised, I realized my mother-in-law and her family must have visited unexpectedly. The situation piqued my curiosity and a mix of emotions as I walked in, not sure what to expect with this sudden family gathering. As I approached the living room, I thought I might find my husband and his parents busy with something. Instead, I heard snippets of a conversation that stopped me cold. "Peter, you were right to marry that woman. You did great. I can't believe you snagged a woman with that much money just because she works for a big company. You played your cards right," one voice said. Then the talk shifted, and I heard mentions of gratitude and manipulation. "You should be more grateful," one voice said. "Oh my, you're one of the ones who racked up that debt," another retorted. They argued about who spent what on horse racing and gambling, all while praising the stroke of luck that brought me into their family for financial salvation. They even joked about discarding me once the debt was cleared. Laughter followed, chilling in its casual cruelty. Frozen by the door, I struggled to process the deception. When I finally gathered myself, I announced my arrival loudly and stepped into view. My husband and in-laws turned to me with smiles, welcoming me warmly as if nothing had happened. "Oh, Amanda, welcome home. Good job. Let's have dinner together later," they chimed, completely oblivious to the turmoil inside me. The warmth of their smiles now seemed sinister, knowing the true sentiment behind them. Throughout the evening, I kept my composure, hiding the storm of emotions raging within. Later, alone in my room, I wept, not just from sadness, but also from a profound sense of betrayal. Over the next few months, I secretly laid the groundwork for a divorce, preparing myself emotionally and financially, still outwardly playing the part of the devoted wife. Finally, when I had everything in place, I revealed to my husband that I had paid off the entire $170,000 debt. His reaction was one of disbelief, not realizing the extent of the resources I had or the resolve I had mustered. "I have quite a bit of money saved up," I said calmly, holding back the tide of emotions. The revelation set the stage for my next steps as I readied myself to start anew, free from deceit and manipulation. Initially, I was cautious about paying off the massive debt in one go, so I began gradually drawing small amounts from my salary and savings. However, once the remaining debt dipped below $120,000, I decided it would be more efficient to clear it all at once. When I explained my plan to my husband and showed him the bank statement proving I had paid $110,000, he struggled to hide his excitement. "Wow, Amanda, thank you. My dads are going to be thrilled about this," he exclaimed, covering his face with his hands in a dramatic show of emotion. Shortly after, my in-laws came over to express their gratitude. "Thank you so much, Amanda. You're like an angel to us," they gushed. If I hadn't overheard their true feelings about me, their words might have filled me with joy. Instead, I was painfully aware of their deceit, and I maintained my role only because I was already preparing for what was to come. A few days later, my husband asked for a serious talk. His expression was grave as he delivered his shocking news. "Amanda, I'm sorry, but you have to leave. I have a new girlfriend, and I'm going to live here with her. You're going to my parents' place," he said, expecting me to be surprised. Confusion clouded my mind. "I don't understand what you mean," I replied, playing into his narrative. "You're just not understanding at all. I don't need you anymore, but since you're a good breadwinner and housekeeper, you can stay here if you want," he said dismissively. As he spoke, the front door swung open, and my in-laws walked in. "Peter, did you finally tell her?" they asked eagerly, almost gleefully. "Yeah, I told her." "I wish I could have seen her face," he replied. "That's how it is. You can stay and do chores for us. Of course, we'll have to charge you rent," they added, revealing their true expectations. This entire scenario unfolded as I had feared based on their earlier candid conversations. Knowing their plans for me didn't make the revelation any less bitter, but it fortified my resolve to act on my escape plan. I had already laid the groundwork for a new beginning, free from their deceit and manipulation. As I navigated these revelations, I prepared to turn my back on this toxic environment for good. My husband's laugh echoed sharply, mocking me as if to underscore how despicable they all were. But I had prepared for this moment more thoroughly than they could imagine. "Well, it's time for all of you to leave," I declared calmly. My in-laws scoffed, rolling their eyes at my audacity. "What are you talking about? Do you think you can manage that?" they challenged me. I smiled a cold, steady smile that I felt all the way to my core. "Actually, I can easily afford the renovation myself, plus I've transferred the house deed into my name. That means I get to decide who stays and who leaves," I stated firmly. The color drained from their faces as the realization dawned on them. The room fell into stunned silence, only to be broken by my husband's retort. "But you've paid off our debt completely. You're the one losing money here. Without that debt, we might have managed to scrape together enough to afford a new place." "True, you lived comfortably while I shouldered your debts," I replied evenly, then dropping the bombshell I added, "but here's the fact. I didn't actually clear the remaining $110,000 of your debt. The money you saw missing from my bank book, I simply moved it to a different account. The debt is still yours to pay." The impact of my words was immediate and devastating. "You mean the debt collectors will start coming again?" My husband stammered, disbelief and fear mingling in his voice. "That's correct," I continued, "and Peter, since you've admitted to having an affair and planning to divorce me for your girlfriend, you'll be paying alimony. And yes, I'll be including your partner in the lawsuit for the affair." Panic flashed across his face. "But she's with me because I own a house and have money. If you charge me alimony, she'll leave me." "I'm not concerned with your romantic troubles," I stated bluntly. "I'm done here. You and your parents have shown your true colors, selfish to the core. I'm severing all ties with you." As they processed the full weight of the situation, I concluded, "And just so you're aware, I've put this house on market. I will also be reclaiming through my lawyer the $80,000 I pay towards your debt." The room was heavy with shock and silence as they absorbed the loss of everything they had taken for granted. My in-laws stood frozen, realizing too late the consequences of their actions. As for me, I was finally free from deceit and manipulation, ready to move forward with my life on my terms. After discovering the depth of deceit I was subjected to, I took decisive legal action. I filed for divorce and sought alimony from both my husband and the woman he had an affair with. Additionally, I demanded $8,000 from my in-laws, accounting for the financial support I had previously provided. The duplex we renovated was in a prime location, attracting a buyer quickly, a family searching for a two-family home. It sold for about $220,000. From this sale, after covering the $80,000 debt repayment and the $120,000 renovation costs, I netted a gain of $60,000. This, combined with the alimony from my ex-husband and his affair partner, significantly improved my financial situation. Moreover, I received a modest sum of $8,000 from my former in-laws, further offsetting my expenses. Despite the tumultuous events, I ended up in a surprisingly favorable financial position. The experience, while harrowing, taught me a valuable lesson in trust and financial prudence. Having a considerable amount of savings initially helped me immensely. I was investing and learning how to manage my finances effectively to clear my in-laws' debts as swiftly as possible. My investments paid off, growing substantially within a year. Coupled with a recent raise at work, my financial standing allowed me to take bold steps to rectify my situation. In the end, my former in-laws found themselves back where they started, burdened with debt and without a home. As harsh as it may sound, their deceitful acts brought them to this point. This ordeal has been a profound learning experience for me, reinforcing the importance of vigilance and financial literacy. Moving forward, I am committed to continuing my financial growth, enhancing my assets, and ensuring a comfortable future. More importantly, I aim to foster relationships with people I can genuinely trust, hoping to create many happy memories without the shadow of deceit. As for the twist of events, it's a compelling narrative that underscores the importance of standing up for oneself and taking control of one's own destiny. It's a story of empowerment and resilience in the face of betrayal and deceit. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates. See you in the next video.
Amanda, Sophia is moving in with us next week, Marcus said casually over dinner, as if it were nothing important. It's time we all learn to live together. I put down my fork and stared at my husband of 8 years. He kept eating, acting like he hadn't just said something shocking. At 35, he was still as handsome as ever, but the smirk on his face was something new. I must have misheard you, I said, keeping my voice calm even though my hands were shaking. Did you just say your mistress is moving in? Marcus sighed, looking annoyed. Don't be dramatic. Sophia isn't just my mistress, she's important to me now. And since you refuse to divorce me without taking half of everything, this is the solution. I thought about the security cameras I had installed 6 months ago. And you expect me to be okay with this? He laughed coldly. Yes. You don't really have a choice. The house is in my name, I pay the bills, and you can't afford to leave. Sophia thinks this is a reasonable arrangement. Of course she did. She was only 24, fresh out of college, working at Marcus's law firm. She probably thought this situation was modern and exciting. What makes you think I'll stay? I asked, pushing my plate away. Marcus smiled. Because you're practical, Amanda. That's why I married you. You know divorce would leave you with nothing, no house, no security. This way, you keep your comfortable life. I stood up and started clearing the table. And what does Sophia's family think about this? They don't know yet, he admitted, checking his phone. And they won't until we decide to tell them. Her parents are very traditional. I nodded. Traditional enough that this news might cause a scandal. I kept that in mind as I loaded the dishwasher. When exactly is she moving in? I asked. Next Saturday, he said. I expect you to help make her feel welcome, clear out some closet space, fix up the guest room. I thought about the USB drive in my desk full of video footage from our security cameras, footage of Marcus and Sophia together in our home, discussing their plans, their future, and how they would push me out. And if I refuse? I asked. Marcus's expression darkened. Then things will get very difficult for you. Accepting this is your best option. I smiled. You're right, I am practical. I picked up his wine glass and walked to the kitchen. I'll start on the guest room tomorrow. He chuckled. See, I knew you'd be reasonable. If only he knew how reasonable I had been these past 6 months, gathering proof of his affair, saving money in a secret account, and hiring a private investigator. Later that night, as Marcus slept beside me, I reviewed the dinner footage. The hidden camera in a light fixture had captured everything perfectly. His smug attitude, his threats, his confidence that I would just accept his plan. I opened my laptop and started writing 2 emails. One was for Sophia's parents with video clips attached. The other was for Marcus's boss, who happened to be a close friend of my father. But I didn't send them yet. Timing was everything. Just then, my phone buzzed. A message from Sophia. I hope Marcus told you about the new arrangement. I'm really excited about this. I took a screenshot and added it to my file. Poor Sophia. She thought she was in control, but she had no idea that Marcus had done this before, or that I had been planning my own move. Unlike his last wife, I hadn't wasted time crying. I had prepared. Marcus was right. I was practical. And on Saturday, he and Sophia would find out just how practical I could be. For now, I would play along, letting them think they had won. After all, the best traps are the ones you don't see coming until it's too late. The week leading up to Sophia's planned move-in passed in a surreal blur. I watched Marcus excitedly prepare the guest room, buying new furniture and bedding that matched Sophia's aesthetic. He even had the audacity to ask my opinion on color schemes. The pale blue would suit her better than the gray. I suggested helpfully, knowing that every credit card charge was being documented, and maybe some new curtains to match. He beamed, completely missing the irony. See, I knew you'd come around. This can work if we all try. On Thursday, I overheard him on the phone with Sophia, his voice soft and intimate in a way it hadn't been with me in years. Baby, wait until you see what I've done with the room. Amanda's been surprisingly cooperative. She's even helping decorate. I smiled to myself as I added the recorded conversation to my growing collection. That evening, I met with my father's friend, Richard Thompson, the managing partner at Marcus's law firm. Are you sure about this timing? Richard asked, reviewing the documentation I brought. Once we move forward, there's no going back. I nodded, thinking of Marcus's smug certainty that I would simply accept his humiliation. I'm sure. Everything's in place. Richard studied the evidence, videos, text messages, credit card statements showing gifts and hotel stays, all meticulously dated and organized. Marcus always was ambitious, he mused. But this, involving a junior associate, planning to move her into your home, it's beyond unprofessional. The board meeting is next Friday, correct? I confirmed. Yes, when they'll be announcing partnership promotions. Richard's expression was grim. Marcus has been the front runner. Such a shame if something were to derail that. Friday evening, Marcus brought Sophia over to show her the renovated room. I heard their excited chatter and giggles floating up the stairs as I sat in my office, finalizing my preparations. Amanda? Marcus called out. Come down and say hello properly. I descended the stairs, finding them in the guest room. Sophia stood there, young and beautiful, wearing an expensive dress Marcus had probably bought her. She had the grace to look slightly uncomfortable. Amanda, hi, she said brightly, as if we were meeting at a coffee shop rather than in the home I shared with her lover. The room looks amazing. Thank you for being so understanding about everything. I smiled warmly. Of course. We're all adults here, aren't we? Would you like some wine? We should celebrate. Marcus looked delighted by my suggestion. Soon we were sitting in the living room, an absurd parody of normalcy as they shared their plans for cohabitation. I'll keep my things in this side of the closet, Sophie explained, wine making her chatty. And maybe we could work out a schedule for the kitchen. Absolutely, I agreed. Though I'm usually not home for dinner these days, work keeps me busy. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Since when? Oh, I've taken on some new projects recently, I said vaguely. Speaking of which, Sophia, how are things at the firm? The partnership announcements are next week, aren't they? A shadow crossed Marcus's face. Let's not discuss work. But Sophia was already nodding enthusiastically. Marcus is definitely getting it. We've already started looking at houses in the better neighborhoods. Once he's partner, we won't have to live here anymore. I watched Marcus wince at her indiscretion. He hadn't wanted me to know about their future plans, probably worry I might cause trouble before his promotion was secure. How wonderful, I said, raising my glass. To new beginnings. Later, after Sophia left, Marcus turned to me with unusual sincerity. Thank you for handling this so well. I know it's not ideal, but you've been surprisingly mature about everything. I touched his arm gently. We all make choices, Marcus. We just have to live with the consequences. He looked slightly unsettled by my response, but quickly shrugged it off. As he headed upstairs, I sent 2 emails I'd prepared earlier. The first to Sophia's parents, the second to the firm's board members. Then I called the locksmith I'd arranged and confirmed our appointment for tomorrow morning. Saturday dawned bright and clear. Marcus left early to help Sophia pack, promising they'd be back by noon. At 9 a.m., the locksmith arrived to change every lock in the house. By 10, the security company had updated all the codes. At 11, a moving company I'd hired arrived to remove everything Marcus had bought for Sophia's room. Right at noon, my phone started buzzing with messages. First from Sophia's mother, then her father. Next came a flood of emails from the law firm's board members. Finally, Marcus himself called, his voice tight with panic. Amanda, what did you do? I settled into my office chair, enjoying the morning sunlight streaming through the window. I made a practical choice, darling, just like you taught me to. His next words came out as a snarl. You had no right. Actually, I had every right. I cut him off. But we can discuss that when you get home. Oh wait, your key won't work anymore. Funny how practical decisions can have such immediate consequences. I hung up, knowing this was just the beginning. But for the first time in months, I felt completely in control. Marcus had taught me well, sometimes the practical choice is the one that hurts the most. The fallout was spectacular and immediate. Sophia's parents, outraged by the video evidence of their daughter's affair with a married partner at her firm, pulled every string they had in their social circle. By Saturday evening, the scandal had spread through their country club faster than a summer wildfire. Marcus's phone calls became increasingly desperate as the hours passed. You've ruined everything, he shouted in his last voicemail. Is that what you wanted? I didn't respond. Instead, I watched through the security cameras as he tried his key in the front door repeatedly, growing more frustrated with each attempt. Finally, he rang the doorbell. I opened the door but blocked the entrance. Can I help you? This is my house, he snarled, trying to push past me. Actually, I held up a document. The house is in both our names. Check the deed. And as a co-owner, I have every right to change the locks when I feel my safety is threatened. His face went pale. What are you talking about? I never put your name on the deed. No, he didn't. But your assistant did, 3 months ago, when you asked her to file some routine paperwork. You really should read what you're signing, Marcus. The realization hit him like a physical blow. I've been preparing this moment for months, carefully orchestrating every detail while he was distracted with Sophia. The partnership, he started. Won't be happening. I finished. The board wasn't thrilled about the videos of you promising promotions to a junior associate in exchange for personal favors. Apparently, that violates several ethical guidelines. Marcus slumped against the doorframe. You recorded everything. Of course I did. I learned from the best, remember? You always taught me to be practical. Just then, a car pulled up to our house. Sophia jumped out, her face streaked with tears. Marcus, my parents know everything. They're threatening to report the firm to the ethics board if I don't quit immediately. I smiled pleasantly. Oh, good, you're both here. That saves me some time. I handed them each an envelope. These are copies of everything I've documented over the past 6 months. Every conversation, every threat, every penny spent. I've already sent copies to the firm's board, Sophia's parents, and my lawyer. Sophia opened her envelope with trembling hands. You planned this? No, you both planned this. I corrected her. I just made sure there was a record of everything. By the way, Sophia, those designer bags Marcus bought you. He used our joint credit card. I've reported them as fraudulent purchases. Marcus's face had turned an interesting shade of red. You vindictive. Careful, I warned. The cameras are still recording. They stood there, these two people who had thought they could simply push me aside, looking lost and defeated. Sophia was the first to break, running back to her car in tears. Marcus watched her go, then turned back to me. What do you want? He asked, his voice hollow. I want a divorce, Marcus, a fair division of assets, including the house you tried to keep from me. And I want you to remember something. You didn't lose everything because I was vindictive. You lost it because you were careless. Now, please leave before I call the police. I closed the door on his stunned face and walked to my office. There, I opened my laptop and smiled at the email that had just arrived. A job offer from a competing law firm. They were quite impressed with my attention to detail and strategic thinking. Over the next few weeks, the story unfolded exactly as I'd orchestrated. Marcus was asked to take an indefinite leave from the firm. Sophia resigned and moved back in with her parents. And I kept the house, started my new job, and finally redecorated the guest room the way I'd always wanted it. One evening, as I enjoyed a quiet dinner alone, my phone buzzed with a text from Marcus's previous wife. I heard what happened. I wish I'd been as smart as you. I thought about responding but decided against it. Instead, I raised my wine glass to the security camera in the corner, my silent witness through it all, and smiled. Sometimes the most practical solution isn't the easiest one, but it's always the most satisfying. 3 months later, I ran into Sophia at a coffee shop. She looked smaller somehow, less confident in her designer clothes. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I don't know what I thought. You thought what he wanted you to think, I replied. The difference is, I stopped believing his stories long ago. As I walked away, I felt nothing but relief. Marcus had taught me to be practical, to always choose the sensible path. He just never expected me to use those lessons against him. The divorce was finalized in record time, with Marcus agreeing to all my terms. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about being angry or vindictive. It's about being smarter, more patient, and yes, more practical than those who try to hurt you. In the end, Marcus and Sophia taught me something valuable. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time, and make sure you have it on camera. You're a burden, Mom. You're just a burden, Mom. I pay for everything. Your rent, your bills. Marcus shouted, his face red with anger. The restaurant was empty except for us. I stood near the bar, my hands clenched together. My name is Olivia Bennett. I'm 58 years old, and today my own son was kicking me out of his restaurant, or at least, the restaurant he thought was his. I can't keep taking care of you while you pretend to help here, Marcus said. Sarah's right. You're just in the way. He ran his hands through his hair, just like his father used to do. We need to cut costs, and your rent is the first thing to go. I glanced at Sarah, my daughter-in-law, standing in the corner with a smug smile. She had been trying to push me out since she married Marcus 3 years ago. You're too involved in his life, she would say. A man needs space to grow. What neither of them knew was that I owned this building and half the block. Marcus's restaurant? It ran under my property, but he believed a company called OB Properties owned it. I understand, I said quietly, picking up my worn leather handbag. I'll move out by the end of the month. Marcus hesitated. I'll help you find something smaller. Maybe a senior living community. I was only 58, far from retirement age. But I stayed quiet, thinking about the large Victorian house I had just finished renovating. Don't worry about me, dear. I'll manage. After my husband died, I used his insurance money to invest in real estate. While Marcus was in college, I built a small empire. The apartment Marcus thought he was paying for. I own that building too. His rent checks had been going straight into a savings account for his children's future. Sarah smirked. This is good for you, Marcus. You need to be independent. Independent. That word echoed in my mind. After Tom's death, I had worked 3 jobs, learned everything about real estate, and made sure Marcus never struggled. I'll get my things tomorrow, I said, walking toward the door. Good luck with the restaurant. Mom, Marcus called, his voice softer now. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I looked around one last time. The brick walls I had restored, the hardwood floors I had refinished, the antique bar I had imported from Ireland. Everything I had done to make his dream come true. I'm not making it hard, Marcus. I'm just stepping aside. I pushed open the door and left. In my car, I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer. It's time, I said. Are you sure? The property tax bills go out next week. He's going to find out. I know. Send the notice tomorrow. I didn't drive to the tiny apartment Marcus thought I lived in. I went home to my beautiful Victorian house in Beacon Hill. As I stepped inside, I looked at the elegant space I had built, filled with high ceilings, modern touches, and a view of the city I had quietly conquered. Sitting in my study, I checked my property management system. The restaurant was just one of the 37 buildings I owned in Boston. Marcus thought I was struggling, but he had no idea his mother was one of the city's top real estate investors. Tomorrow he would learn the truth. A notice from OB Properties would arrive, introducing the new property manager. Me. I poured myself a glass of wine and stepped onto my balcony, watching the sun set. Sometimes love means letting your children make their own mistakes, and sometimes it means showing them the truth when they're ready. Was Marcus ready to see who I really was? Only time would tell. The next morning, I dressed carefully in one of my tailored business suits, an outfit Marcus and Sarah had never seen me wear. For years, I'd maintained my image as the modest, somewhat struggling mother, wearing simple clothes while helping at the restaurant. Today was different. I had a meeting with my property management team at 9 a.m., reviewing plans for several building renovations. By 10:30, Michael called. The notice has been delivered to the restaurant, he said. Are you ready for this? I took a deep breath. I've been ready for 15 years. Around noon, my phone started buzzing. Marcus's name flashed on the screen repeatedly, followed by a barrage of texts. Mom, what's going on? Did you know about this? The landlord is coming to meet us today. Where are you? We need your help. I let them go unanswered. At precisely 2 p.m., I walked into the restaurant, my heels clicking against the hardwood floors I'd restored years ago. Marcus and Sarah stood by the bar, paperwork scattered in front of them, their faces pale with worry. Mom? Marcus looked up, confused by my appearance. What are you doing here? And why are you dressed like that? Good afternoon, Marcus, Sarah, I said calmly, placing my briefcase on the bar. I believe you received a notice about meeting your landlord today. Sarah's eyes narrowed. We don't have time for this. We're about to meet with OB Properties. They're sending someone to discuss the lease. Actually, I said, pulling out a folder, OB Properties is already here. I handed them my business card, Olivia Bennett, CEO of OB Properties LLC. The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus stared at the card, then at me, his face cycling through confusion, disbelief, and shock. This isn't possible, Sarah whispered, grabbing the card from Marcus's hands. You live in that tiny apartment. Marcus pays your rent. I smiled, sitting down at the bar. No, Sarah. Marcus sends money every month, which goes directly into a trust fund for any future grandchildren. I own that apartment building, just like I own this one and many others. Marcus sank onto a bar stool, his legs seemingly unable to hold him up. All this time, the mysterious landlord who gave me such a good deal on the lease was me, I finished. I bought this building when you were still in culinary school. I renovated it specifically with your dream restaurant in mind. But why didn't you tell me? His voice cracked slightly. I looked at my son, really looked at him. Because you needed to believe you did this on your own. You needed to build your confidence, your skills. I just provided the foundation. Everything else, the success of this restaurant, that's all you. Sarah wasn't taking it as well. You've been lying to us, making us think you needed our help, letting us believe. I never said I needed help. I interrupted quietly. You both assumed that. You saw what you wanted to see, a widow struggling to get by. Never once did you ask about my life, my work, or how I spent my days. Marcus ran his hands through his hair again, that familiar gesture now tinged with regret. The apartment, the bills we've been paying. All going towards your children's future, I confirmed. I've been saving it, along with matching contributions of my own. By the time you have kids, their education will be fully funded. Yesterday, he started, his face flushing with shame. What I said to you was hurtful, I acknowledged, but may be necessary. It's time you knew the truth about your mother, Marcus. I'm not the burden you think I am. I'm a businesswoman who spent 15 years building something significant. I opened my briefcase and pulled out more documents, proof of my property holdings, investment portfolios, and the trust fund statements. As Marcus and Sarah looked through them, their hands trembling slightly, I could see their worldview shifting. All those evenings you spent helping around here, Marcus said slowly. You were actually checking on your investment, weren't you? I was spending time with my son. I corrected him. The fact that I owned the building was secondary. Everything I've done has been to secure your future, to give you a foundation to build your dreams on. Sarah sat down heavily, the papers clutched in her hands. The property taxes alone on this building are more than the restaurant's monthly revenue, I finished. Why did you think the rent was so reasonable? I wanted you to have a chance to succeed, Marcus. I just needed to do it in a way that let you feel independent. The next few weeks brought dramatic changes to our family dynamics. Marcus insisted I move into the owner's apartment above the restaurant, a space I'd kept vacant for years. It's yours anyway, he said, his voice carrying a new hint of respect. And I'd like you closer. I kept my Victorian home, but found myself spending more evenings at the restaurant, this time openly sharing my business knowledge with Marcus. Sarah, surprisingly, was the one who sought me out most often. I can't believe I was so wrong about you, she'd admitted one evening as we sat going through the restaurant's books. All this time, I thought you were clinging to Marcus, but you were actually supporting us in ways we never knew. Sometimes love means stepping back, I said, showing her how to better organize their financial records. Even when you have the power to step in. The restaurant staff, who'd always liked me as the helpful mom, were amazed to discover I was actually the property owner. Maria, our head waitress of 5 years, laughed when she found out. I always wondered why you knew so much about the building's history. 1 month after the revelation, Marcus called a family meeting. He and Sarah sat across from me in the restaurant's private dining room, looking nervous but determined. Mom, Marcus started, we've been doing a lot of thinking. I was horrible to you and I'm sorry. But more than that, I'm grateful. You could have stopped me at any time, shown me the truth, made me feel foolish for my assumptions. Instead, you let me learn and grow. Sarah reached for his hand. We've been talking about the future. About family. She touched her stomach gently, and my heart leaped. We're having a baby. Tears welled in my eyes. That's wonderful news. There's more, Marcus continued. We want you involved, really involved. Not just as a grandmother, but as a mentor. I've seen your business records now, Mom. What you've built, it's incredible. We want to learn from you. I looked at them both, seeing the genuine change in their attitudes. I'd like that very much. Over the next few months, I watched Marcus and Sarah transform. They became eager students of both business and family. The restaurant thrived under our combined efforts. Marcus's culinary expertise, Sarah's newfound financial acumen, and my business experience. One evening, as I was leaving the restaurant, I overheard Marcus talking to a customer. See that elegant lady at the bar? That's my mother, one of Boston's most successful business owners. Everything I am, everything I've built is because she believed in me enough to let me find my own way. 6 months later, I held my grandson, Thomas Oliver Bennett, named for both his grandfather and me. As I rocked him in the beautifully restored apartment above the restaurant, I could hear the bustling dinner service below. The sound of success built on truth, trust, and time. I have something for him, I told Marcus and Sarah, pulling out an envelope. Inside was the trust fund documentation. 15 years of their rent payments, plus my contributions, now designated for little Thomas's future. Sarah wiped away tears. All this time, you were thinking ahead. That's what mothers do, I said simply. We build foundations, even when no one sees us working. Marcus touched the antique bar as he looked around the restaurant. I always thought this place was my dream come true. Now I realize it was yours first, your dream of giving me mine. No, I corrected him gently. My dream was always just to see you happy, successful, and kind. The restaurant was merely the vehicle. Today, OB Properties remains one of Boston's premier real estate companies, but now it's truly a family business. Marcus and Sarah are learning the ropes, preparing to help manage our growing empire while maintaining the restaurant's excellence. Every Sunday, we have family dinner in the private dining room. Sometimes I catch Marcus watching me with a mix of amazement and regret, still processing how wrong he'd been about his struggling mother. But mostly, we focus on the future we're building together, a future founded on truth, understanding, and the kind of love that's strong enough to let go until the time is right to hold on again. As my grandson grows, he'll learn early what it took his father years to understand. That success isn't just about what you build, but about how you build it with patience, wisdom, and enough love to let others find their own way back to you.